Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in life when you look in the mirror, not at your face, but at your direction, and you realize something don't feel right anymore. The energy ain't the same. The hunger ain't the same. The discipline slipped somewhere along the way. And deep down, you know you didn't come this far just to feel stuck. 2026 is knocking on your door, and it's not asking politely. It's demanding a decision. It's asking you one simple question. Are you going to carry the same excuses, or are you finally ready to carry a new mindset? Because let me tell you something, real time does not care about your comfort. Time don't slow down because you're confused. Time don't pause because you're tired. It keeps moving. And every second you spend doubting yourself, somebody else is out there believing in themselves just enough to take your place. This ain't about being perfect. This ain't about having everything figured out. This is about having the courage to say, I'm done with who I used to be, and I'm ready to become who I'm meant to be. You see, some of you have been holding on to old habits like they are your identity. Some of you have been replaying old failures like they your future. And some of you been waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for motivation, waiting for somebody to come save you. But let me break it to you, ain't nobody coming. This is your moment. Right now. You don't need another year to think about it. You don't need another excuse to delay it. What you need is a reset, a real one, the kind where you sit down with yourself and get honest, where you admit what's not working, where you take responsibility without blaming the world. Because growth begins when excuses end. Restart means you stop dragging yesterday into today. It means you forgive yourself for what didn't work and you get back up anyway. Refocus means you lock your eyes on the goal and stop getting distracted by things that don't even matter. 2026 is not just another year. It is a test of your discipline, a test of your mindset, a test of whether you're serious or just talking. And here's the truth, you already got what it takes. You just haven't been using it at the level required. So today, right here, you make a decision, not tomorrow, not next week. Today, you reset your habits, you restart your mindset, and you refocus your energy, because the life you want, it's not far. It's just waiting on a better version of you to show up. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get one thing clear right now, change is uncomfortable. Resetting your life ain't some smooth, easy process where everything just falls into place. It's messy, it's frustrating. It's going to challenge every weak habit you've been protecting. But here's the deal, you cannot become who you're supposed to be while holding on to who you used to be. That version of you had its time. That version made decisions, built habits, created patterns, and those patterns led you right here. So if you're not satisfied with where you are, then something has to change. And that something is you. Reset means you take a step back and evaluate everything, your habits, your circle, your mindset, the way you talk to yourself. Because a lot of you don't even realize you're the one holding yourself back. Not your situation, not your background, not your past. It's the story you keep telling yourself every single day. You wake up already defeated. You look at your goals and you think, that's too big. You look at your problems and you think, that's too much. And before you even try, you already lost. See, the battle is not out there, it's in here. Restart is where it gets real. Because restarting means you don't let failure define you. It means you don't sit down after one setback and decide that's the end of your story. You get back up, you try again, you learn something, you adjust something. And let me tell you something, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. The only people who don't fail are the ones who never try. But restarting requires humility. You got to admit, I messed up. You got to admit, I could have done better. And instead of making excuses, you make adjustments. Because excuses will comfort you, but they will never grow you. Now let's talk about refocus. This right here is where most people lose. Not because they don't have talent, not because they don't have opportunity, but because they don't have focus. You're distracted by social media, distracted by other people's opinions, distracted by things that don't even align with your goals. You chasing everything. And that's why you're catching nothing. Focus is saying no. Focus is discipline. Focus is waking up and doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. Because motivation is temporary, but discipline is permanent. And in 2026, you're going to need discipline. You're going to need consistency. You're going to need that inner voice that says, keep going, even when everything around you says stop. Let me ask you something, how bad do you want it? Not the version where you say you want it. I mean the real version, the one where you're willing to sacrifice, the one where you're willing to wake up earlier, stay up later, cut off distractions, and put in work when nobody's watching. Because success is not built in public, it's built in private. It's built in those quiet moments when you choose growth over comfort. Some of you been comfortable for too long, comfortable with average, comfortable with excuses, comfortable with just getting by. And comfort is dangerous because it makes you settle for less than what you're capable of. But let me remind you, you didn't come into this world to be average. You didn't come here to play small. There's something inside you, something bigger, something greater, but it's waiting on you to activate it. And that activation starts with a decision to reset your mindset, a decision to restart your actions, a decision to refocus your energy. Now here's where it gets serious. You're going to face resistance. People might not understand your change. They might question you. They might even doubt you. But listen carefully, you don't need everybody to believe in you. You just need to believe in yourself enough to keep going. Because at the end of the day, this is your life, your journey, your responsibility. Nobody else can do the work for you. Nobody else can make the decisions for you. And the truth is, you already know what you need to do. You've been knowing. You've just been avoiding it. But 2026 don't have time for avoidance. It's demanding action. So when you wake up tomorrow, don't wake up the same way. Don't pick up the same habits. Don't carry the same mindset. Wake up different. Think different. Move different. Because different actions create different results. And if you stay the same, your life will stay the same. But if you change even just a little bit every day, you'll start to see something powerful happen. Progress, real progress. Not overnight success, not instant results, but steady, consistent growth. And that's how transformation happens. Not in one big moment, but in small decisions made daily. So don't wait for a big sign. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The moment is now. Reset, restart, refocus. And when you do that, watch how your life begins to shift. Watch how your confidence grows. Watch how opportunities start to show up. Not because you got lucky, but because you got serious. 2026 is your year, but only if you decide to make it yours. You keep looking at your life, wondering why things aren't changing, wondering why the results look the same year after year. And deep down, there's a quiet voice inside you that already knows the answer. It's not your effort. It's not your dreams. It's your mindset. Because you can work hard every single day, but if your thinking is still small, your results will stay small. If you keep doubting yourself, second-guessing every move, telling yourself, I'm not ready yet, then it doesn't matter how many plans you make. You already lost the moment you believed you couldn't win. Resetting your mindset is not easy. It's not just waking up one day and thinking positive thoughts. It's a fight, a real one. It's catching yourself every time you think I can't and forcing your mind to say I will try anyway. It's looking at your fears and not running from them, but standing there long enough to understand them. Some of you have been carrying thoughts that don't even belong to you. Words from people who doubted you. Opinions from people who never tried. Failures from your past that you turned into your identity. And now every time you think about doing something bigger, those voices get louder than your own. That's why the reset is necessary. Because you cannot build a strong future on a broken belief system. You cannot expect confidence when your mind is filled with fear. You cannot expect success when you keep telling yourself you're not enough. You have to clean it out. All of it. The negativity, the doubt, the comparisons, the excuses. It's like starting fresh, like wiping a board that's been filled with the wrong answers for too long. And it's uncomfortable. It feels strange to believe in yourself when you're not used to it. It feels awkward to speak positively when you've been criticizing yourself for years. But that discomfort, that's a sign something is changing. Because your mind controls everything. The way you see yourself, the way you approach challenges, the way you react when things go wrong. If your mindset is weak, every obstacle feels impossible. But when your mindset is strong, even your biggest problems start to look like opportunities. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what can I learn from this? You stop focusing on what you lost and start focusing on what you can build. You stop waiting for permission, and start moving with purpose. And suddenly, the same life that once felt heavy starts to feel different. Not because everything around you changed, but because you changed. You begin to realize that your limits were never real. They were just thoughts you accepted without questioning. And now that you're questioning them, they're losing their power over you. Resetting your mindset means choosing belief over doubt, action over fear, growth over comfort, even when it's hard, even when it feels unnatural, even when nobody else sees the change happening inside you. Because before anything in your life can change on the outside, something has to shift on the inside. You've told yourself the same story so many times, they don't even sound like excuses anymore. They sound like truth. I didn't have enough time. I wasn't ready. Things didn't go my way. And every time something doesn't work out, you reach for one of those reasons like it's a shield, something to protect you from feeling like you failed. But here's the hard truth. Those excuses are not protecting you. They're keeping you stuck, because every excuse you make gives you permission to stay the same. It gives you a way out when things get difficult. It lets you walk away from growth without feeling guilty. And slowly, without even realizing it, you build a habit of choosing comfort over progress. You start believing that it's okay to stop when it gets hard. You start convincing yourself that the situation is the problem, not your response to it. And that's dangerous, because as long as you keep blaming things outside of you, you'll never take control of what's inside you. Making adjustments is different. Adjustments require honesty. They force you to look at yourself without filters, without excuses, without trying to soften the truth that's standing in front of your own reflection and saying, I could have done better. And that's not easy to admit. It hits your pride. It challenges your ego. It makes you uncomfortable in a way excuses never will, but that discomfort is where growth lives, because when you stop making excuses, you finally create space for change. You stop wasting energy explaining why something didn't work, and you start focusing on how to make it work next time. You begin to ask better questions. Not why did this happen to me, but what can I do differently? Now you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start working with what you have. You stop blaming yourself, past, and start taking responsibility for your future, and responsibility is heavy. It means you can't point fingers anymore. It means you can't hide behind circumstances. It means every result, good or bad, comes back to you. But at the same time, it's powerful, because the moment you take responsibility, you take control. You realize that even if you can't change everything, you can always change your approach, your effort, your attitude. Your decisions. Adjustments don't have to be big to matter. Sometimes it's waking up a little earlier. Sometimes it's cutting out distractions. Sometimes it's trying again when you feel like quitting. Small changes, repeated daily, create a completely different outcome over time. And that's the part most people miss. They're looking for a big breakthrough, something dramatic, something instant. But real transformation happens quietly through consistent adjustments that nobody else sees. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to get everything right. You just need to be willing to improve step by step, day by day, because excuses will keep you exactly where you are, but adjustments will move you forward, even if it's slow, even if it's hard, even if it feels like nobody notices. And at some point, all those small adjustments add up to a version of you that doesn't even recognize the person who used to settle for excuses. You keep waiting to feel motivated. You tell yourself, I'll start when I feel ready, when I feel inspired, when I feel that energy. And days go by, weeks go by, sometimes even years pass, and you're still standing in the same place waiting for a feeling that was never meant to lead you. Because motivation is a feeling. And feelings, they come and go. Some days you wake up excited, ready to take on the world. You feel unstoppable. But other days you feel tired, drained, doubt creeps in. And on those days, if all you have is motivation, you won't move. You'll stay in bed. You'll delay. You'll tell yourself tomorrow. One more time. That's why discipline matters more. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't ask for your mood. It doesn't wait for the perfect moment. Discipline shows up even when you don't want to. Even when you're tired. Even when your mind is telling you to quit, it's waking up. When your body wants to sleep, it's working. When your mind wants to scroll, it's pushing forward. When everything inside you is asking for a break, and that's not easy. It feels heavy. It feels uncomfortable. Sometimes it even feels unfair, like you're forcing yourself through something you don't want to do. But that's exactly what separates people because anyone can act when they feel good. Anyone can take action when they're motivated. But very few people can keep going when that feeling disappears. And that's where real growth happens, not in the moments of excitement, but in the moments of resistance, when you sit down to work and your mind keeps drifting away, but you pull it back when you feel like quitting halfway through, but you keep going anyway, when nobody is watching, nobody is praising you, nobody is pushing you, but you still show up. That's discipline, and the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. At first, it feels like a struggle. You have to force yourself. You have to fight your own habits. But over time, something changes. What used to feel hard starts to feel normal. What used to take effort starts to feel automatic. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop asking, do I feel like it today? And you start saying, this is what I do. And that shift, that's powerful, because now your actions are no longer controlled by your emotions. They're controlled by your commitment. And commitment doesn't change just because you're having a bad day. It doesn't disappear when things get difficult. It stays. That's why discipline will take you further than motivation ever could. Because motivation might get you started, but discipline is what keeps you going when everything else fades away. It's what carries you through the boring days, the hard days, the days when progress feels invisible. And those are the days that actually matter the most, because every time you show up without motivation, you're proving something to yourself. You're proving that you're serious. You're proving that you're not controlled by your feelings. You're proving that no matter how hard it gets, you're still going to move forward. And that's how you build a life that doesn't depend on temporary emotions. That's how you create real, lasting success, by doing what needs to be done. Whether you feel like it or not, you spend too much time looking around, watching what other people are doing, listening to what they're saying, letting their opinions get inside your head like they have the right to decide your future. And slowly, without even realizing it, you start adjusting your life based on people who are not living your life. You hesitate before making a move because you're thinking, oh, they say. You hold back your ideas because you're worried. What if they don't understand? You start shrinking yourself just to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. And that's how people lose themselves, not in one big moment, but in small decisions where they choose other people's opinions over their own vision. But let me tell you something, people will always have something to say if you try. They'll judge you if you don't try. They'll judge you if you succeed. They'll talk. You fail. They'll talk. So if they're going to talk anyway, why are you letting their voices control your direction? You have to understand, most people are not speaking from experience. They're speaking from their own fears. They see you trying to do something different, something bigger, something uncomfortable, and it reminds them of what they didn't do, so they question you, they doubt you. They make you feel like you're making a mistake, not because you are, but because they never had the courage to try. And if you're not careful, you'll start believing them. You'll start thinking maybe you're aiming too high. Maybe you should slow down. Maybe you should just do what everyone else is doing. And just like that, your path disappears. This is why focus matters, because focus is not just about what you do, it's about what you ignore. It's about choosing your goals over their noise. It's about protecting your vision like it's something valuable, because it is. You don't need everyone to understand your journey. You don't need approval to chase your goals. You don't need validation to keep going. What you need is clarity, clarity about where you're going, clarity about why it matters to you. And once you have that, everything else becomes irrelevant. The opinions, the criticism, the doubts, they lose their power, because you're not moving based on what people say. You're moving based on what you know. And that changes everything. You stop explaining yourself. You stop defending your choices. You stop trying to prove something to people who were never going to support you anyway. Instead, you put your head down and you work. You focus on your progress, not their perception. You focus on your growth, not their gossip. You focus on your path, not their opinions. And it's not easy. There will be moments when the noise gets loud, moments when doubt creeps in, moments when you question yourself. But that's when your focus has to get stronger, because your future cannot be built on other people's approval. It has to be built on your own belief. And the moment you truly understand that, you stop living for their expectations and you finally start living for your own purpose. You say you want to grow. You say you want something bigger, something better, something more. But the moment things get uncomfortable, you pull back, you hesitate, you start looking for a way out. And that right there That's the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Because growth does not live in comfort. It doesn't show up. When everything feels easy, when everything goes your way, when you're relaxed and certain and safe. Growth shows up when you're unsure, when you're stretched, when you're facing something that makes you question yourself. That feeling you try to avoid, that pressure, that fear, that discomfort. That's where the change is happening, but most people run from it. They choose what's familiar. Over what's possible, they stay in routines that don't challenge them. They avoid risks because they don't want to fail, and slowly they build a life that feels safe on the outside but empty on the inside, because deep down they know they're capable of more. Consistency is what makes it real, not motivation, not talent, not luck. Consistency, showing up again and again, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't see results yet. That's where most people quit. They start strong, full of energy, full of excitement. But when the results don't come fast enough, when progress feels slow, when things don't go as planned, they lose patience. They start questioning the process. They start doubting themselves. And eventually, they stop, not because they couldn't succeed, but because they couldn't stay consistent long enough to see it happen. Growth doesn't happen overnight. It's not one big moment, one big win, one big breakthrough. It's small steps, repeated every single day. It's choosing discipline. When you're tired, it's choosing effort. When it feels pointless, it's choosing to keep going when everything in you wants to quit. And those choices, they don't feel powerful in the moment. They feel boring. They feel repetitive. They feel like nothing is changing, but something is changing. You are every time you push through discomfort. You become stronger every time you stay consistent. You build resilience every time you refuse to quit. You prove to yourself that you're capable of more than you thought. And over time, those small changes start to show, not all at once, not in a dramatic way, but slowly. Steadily, your mindset shifts, your confidence grows, your abilities improve. And one day, you look back and realize you're not the same person anymore. That's the power of discomfort and consistency working together. One challenges you, the other sustains you. One forces you to grow, the other makes sure you don't stop. And if you can learn to embrace both, to accept that it's going to be hard, to accept that it's going to take time, to accept that it won't always feel good, then there's nothing that can stop you from becoming who you're meant to be. Because growth isn't about staying comfortable. It's about becoming stronger than the discomfort that once held you back. You keep thinking you have time to fix it later, time to start. When life slows down, time to change. When everything feels more stable. But life doesn't wait for your perfect moment. It keeps moving quietly, steadily, without asking you for permission. And while you're delaying, while you're hesitating, while you're saying not now, life is already responding to your decisions or your lack of them. Every day you wake up, you're making a choice. Even when you think you're doing nothing, you're still choosing. You're choosing habits. You're choosing thoughts. You're choosing direction. And those small choices are building something bigger than you. Realize, because your future is not created in one big moment. It's created in what you repeat, what you tolerate, what you ignore, what you keep doing, even when it doesn't feel important. And most people underestimate that. They think success comes from one breakthrough moment, one lucky opportunity, one perfect situation. But the truth is, success is built in silence, in the early mornings when nobody sees you, in the late nights when you're tired, but still pushing, in the moments when you could quit, but you don't. That's where your future is being shaped, not in words, but in actions. And every action is either taking you forward or keeping you the same. There is no standing still, even when your life feels paused. You are either growing or you are slowly drifting back. That's why your decisions matter so much. Because one decision can change the direction of everything. One decision to start, one decision to stop wasting time, one decision to take yourself seriously. And yes, it feels heavy at first, because taking responsibility always does. It means you can't blame your past anymore. You can't blame people. You can't blame circumstances. It all comes back to you. But that's also where your power is, because if it all comes back to you, then it also starts with you. You are not stuck. You are not trapped. You are not finished. But you do have to decide that you're done with excuses. Decide that you're done waiting. Decide that you're done living below your potential. And that decision has to be stronger than your comfort, stronger than your fear, stronger than your doubt. Because comfort will always try to pull you back. Fear will always try to stop you before you start. Doubt will always try to convince you that it's too late. But none of those things are stronger than discipline combined with belief. And the moment you choose to move anyway, even with fear, even with uncertainty, even with imperfection, something starts to shift. Your identity begins to change. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries, and you start seeing yourself as someone who builds, someone who shows up, someone who keeps going, and that version of you doesn't wait for perfect. Timing that version of you creates timing, because at the end of it all, your life is not defined by what you planned. It's defined by what you actually did when it mattered most.